So in this video, I'm going to rank 15 niche fragrance houses based on how much I enjoy them personally. I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a perfume expert. The more I've been getting into fragrances and communicating with people on them, the more I realize just how subjective this is. Honestly, I'm starting to perceive perfume experts as some sort of clowns, like for real. Like it's you can't give buying advice on fragrances on the internet to anyone. Our tastes are probably different. Some of you may relate to me. Some may have completely opposite taste of mine. And your opinion is just as valid as mine. Feel free to leave your favorite houses in the comments. Curious what everybody's input is on this. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just a regular guy that's explored various houses and kind of has somewhat of an opinion on them. Now, that opinion is also very subject to change. I was just thinking yesterday that my tastes have changed so dramatically since I first got into fragrances. Like, it's literally so subjective that if I showed old me what I like today, I probably wouldn't have liked it back then. Like, I'm in the stage where if something is too signature scent worthy and too easy to like, I'm not as interested in it. But at a stage, that's what I was really looking for. And sometimes I even flip-flop. I've had times where I've gotten into niche, and then I go back to being into cheapies, and then I go into being into designers. And it's like I flip-flop a lot. So this whole list is subject to change, and I probably will update it at some point in the future, just react to it and see how my tastes have changed over time. As always, no affiliate links, no sponsorships, not giving any buying advice on anything here, and the primary purpose of this channel and this video is purely entertainment value, just a regular guy being honest about his opinion and taste in perfumery. So I'm going to start with the top tier, and I'm going to start with the most controversial one, the House of Creed. I absolutely love Creed. I'll always love Creed. I know a lot of people don't like him. It's kind of understandable when the performance on some of the releases is just so bad. Like Neroli Sauvage by Creed is probably the worst performing fragrance I've ever tried in my life. And just the price that they're demanding for retail. And I'm not even really big on presentation, but they used to have the most chinky plastic caps, and their bottles have felt pretty cheap. I will say their atomizers are amazing, but what I really love about the House of Creed is their classic releases. Creed Royal Oud, Green Irish Tweed, Boss de Portugal, Royal Mayfair, just some of their classy, even Viking, those classy, masculine, manly smells that are just... I mean, to me, they're so easy to wear. They're so wearable, and they're so just vintage and nice smelling and clean and put together. I just love Creed. Their batting average is just so high for me. Now, I'll say what I don't like about them is, of course, the performance issues and the directions that they've been going recently as a brand, like with the whole... oh, we're going to release this Absolute Aventus and say it's a limited release. And then, oh, no, we actually have triple aged batch, stuff that has been macerating longer. Oh, wait, no, actually, we're just going to release it. So it's like all that kind of schemy marketing, and that amber line they came out with Centaurus and Delphinus. Like, it used to be like Creed would release a fragrance every so often, and it was like a big deal. It was like every 5 years a new Creed came out. Now I feel like I can't even keep track of them. It's like Queen of Silk, Carmina, Absolute Aventus, Delphinus, Centaurus, and it's been, what, like a year? So the direction the brand's going, and I don't know, changing the way the bottles look even, and all that, I really think they should have just stuck with what they were doing before and kept the 120 milliliter bottles and it really kept it going. Now it feels like they're becoming more of a status symbol. But whatever, maybe Creed is just so big that they don't need their loyal fans anymore, and that's fine. It is what it is. They're a business. I'm not resentful about it. And I still just love those classic Creed releases. I love Silver Mountain Water, Millesime Imperial. The only Creeds I haven't really liked are Royal Water and Centaurus. Next is the House of Amouage. Absolutely love them. They're so creative and their perfumes are so well done. And unlike Creed, they actually age their stuff and make a high perfume oil concentration. A lot of their fragrances tend to have very good performance. I almost feel like if it doesn't have good performance, they don't release it. The exception is Jubilation 25. A lot of you say you get good performance out of it. I just don't. I don't at all. But then some people say they get bad performance from Reflection, and I get good performance from it. So maybe it's just like a personal thing. But Amouage, what I love about them is just they're one of those houses that if you go to an Amouage booth at a Neiman Marcus and you give them 5 minutes, you're not going to be very impressed. At least that's what my first impression of them was. When I first smelled them, I smelled maybe 5 or 6 and kind of wrote off the brand because I was like, oh, I didn't like those 5, so I don't like Amouage. But now that I've actually sat with them, sampled them, wore them on skin, spent time with over 20 of them, they're definitely one of my favorite houses. And when I look at my collection, I own more Amouage bottles than anything else. Because when you find that Amouage that really resonates with you, it just hits so different. It just feels so valuable. It feels like I developed such a personal connection with it. And as a brand, I feel like their bottles just say quality with their metal caps and everything about them. They're also just so manly. Like their masculine releases is all I've really tried, but the masculine releases are just so manly and so nice, and their takes on things. They also use ingredients that a lot of brands just kind of roll over, like violet flower, violet leaf, giving like purple smells and unique stuff. Like it's really a great house, true niche perfumery. They take risk with their releases, and they're definitely worth exploring for anybody who wants to kind of get more into the creative side of fragrances. It's also reasonably easy to find reasonably priced samples, decants, splits, this, that, and the other, which I can't say about every niche house. So next is going to be Le Labo, and Le Labo is a niche brand that like has me by the balls. Like I feel like a lot of people are going to understand this, but when a niche brand just really gets to you and you know they just got you, Le Labo is that for me. And I know a lot of people don't bring up Le Labo. I don't think a lot of people like them. Maybe it's on the men's side because I noticed women seem to resonate with Le Labo more, but I don't really hear Le Labo brought up. And I do think their branding is kind of lousy. Like I remember whenever I first heard Le Labo, just that name alone just sounded too, I don't know, too posh or something. Like, and the bottles to me look kind of ugly. Like I'm not really into it. And the names and the whole lab thing, like I think that's a big turnoff. I think another turnoff to the brand is Santal 33. Just the fact that that's their most popular release. I don't think it's actually a very good introduction to the brand. I feel like it's a very polarizing fragrance that you're going to smell it and either get like straight up pickle or you're going to like it. Like that's what it is. I just think it's too polarizing. Like I bet a lot of people have smelt Santal 33, said it smelled like pickles, and maybe smelt 1 or 2 more and just wrote off the brand, like another 13 or something. But really, I feel like Le Labo has so many good releases. They're so creative. Their fragrances are so sensible. Like to me, there's a lot of creative brands that are just as creative as Le Labo, but they lack sensibility. I'm going to get into that later on, but brands like Zoologist, where it's like, yeah, it's super creative, but am I going to wear this? What I love about Le Labo is that they stay sensible, and I think part of what makes them sensible to me as a brand is their fragrances are closer to earth and smells that I actually recognize. So for instance, Santal 33, like a cucumber pickle with earth kind of smell, very nature smelling. Or even Rose 31, having that rose with that spicy cumin. There's Gaiac 10, which not everybody gets this, but I get barbecue smoke from that in the best way possible. When I smell the Nor 29, I get like a rainy day in a garden. Another 13 smells like magazine paper. And then Matcha 26, it's like a literal matcha tea latte. So as I'm running through these, you can see how these smells are really creative, but at the same time, they're not so alien. They're not going to smell like goat fur or anything weird like that. Like they're sensible. And at the end of the day, fragrance is subjective and I just like them. I notice that I gravitate towards fragrances that are calming, and there's something about Le Labos that are just so calming to me. What I'll say to criticize the brand is that everything is unisex. Nothing really feels all that masculine to me. It doesn't really have that energy that Amouage has. Of being manly. Also, that whole genderless thing that they're trying to do. A lot of their fragrances just can smell like room sprays or candles to me. It's hard to describe, but I feel like somebody out there is going to know what I'm talking about. A good thing about the brand is that they sell samples for like $7 a piece. Their samples are very accessible, so you can go to a Le Labo boutique, smell something, and if you like it, You don't have to ask for a sample. You could just buy one. So they make their samples accessible. They're only like $7, I think, currently. Now I'm going to get into mid-tier. Mid-tiers to me are brands that I really like. Don't get me wrong, but they're not like top tier for me. Amouage, Creed, Le Labo have my heart. Like those are like top tier niche brands I get really excited about. Mid-tier, I really like them. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't get that excited about them, and the samples, a lot of them just haven't been that memorable to me almost. The first one I'll mention is Parfums de Marly. I really like Parfums de Marly, don't get me wrong. And I have found the ones that have really struck a chord with me, and I think they offer an excellent value. For me, the ones I really like are Haultain, Herod, Leighton, and I also really like Carlisle quite a bit. But with Parfums de Marly, it seems like they have something for everyone. Like people generally walk away with like 2 or 3 or 4 that they really like. And then the rest of the house, they kind of just feel like I feel, I think, where it's just like kind of repetitive. Another one I really like is Pegasus Exclusive. But if you look at Parfums de Marly, I don't know. I think they only have 18 men's releases. And the fact that I like 4 or 5 of them is pretty high. Like there's brands out there like, I don't know how many fragrances Xerjoff has. I've probably lost count at 30. And of those, I don't take away as many. So Parfums de Marly has an excellent batting average. And if I think of like Carlisle disappearing or Leighton or Haultain going away, I would get really sad about it. So I really love the house. It just, they don't resonate as much with me as the top 3 do. Next up is Xerjoff. And Xerjoff is like, I don't know. They get a lot of hype and a lot of people look up to them as some niche house. To each their own. I don't really resonate with Xerjoff that much. I've sampled so much from the brand, and when I look back, a lot of my disappointments have come from Xerjoff because I feel like everything people accuse Parfums de Marly of doing, Xerjoff does as well, but I feel like Xerjoff almost does it more. Like I feel like a lot of their releases are pretty derivative. They're pretty crowd-pleasing. They really fall into that it's a citrus or it's a vanilla territory. A lot of clones. A lot of times I've gotten samples where I smell it. I'm like, I know exactly what they were copying with this. So Xerjoff overall has just been this weird disappointment for me because I get them and a lot of them it's like, all right, it's another citrus. It's another citrus. It's another lemon cake fragrance. Like they kind of, to me at least, have the same style with a lot of things. Like lemon cake is in a lot of, like I get that in Renaissance, I get that in Uden, I get that in Lyra. It's like they literally said we're going to make a lemon cake fragrance and they just add little twists to it. So then I get like kind of bored of the house pretty easily. It's just none of them really feel as unique as like Le Labo does or Amouage. Like they really feel pretty derivative and they outright copy things pretty often. I will say I really like their presentation, the thick glass, like that stuff matters. Like the atomizers are amazing, even the names, because you get into some of these other brands and their names are like Opus 15 Royal Tobacco or some kind of really long exaggerated name. I like how they name things like Naxos, 40 Knots, Tony Iommi. Like the presentation and how they present things in the thick glass, I really like. Also, I really love some of their releases. I really love Tony Iommi. I really love 40 Knots. And it was worth exploring the house to find the ones that I really like, but I just don't really feel that much towards the brand. Next is Zoologist, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but they just don't have sensibility, man, but they are so much fun, and I love the ones I found that I like Squid is pretty much the only one, but they're so fun, like getting those samples in and smelling things like bat, and like, I don't know, the names and how they brand everything. And now that I have one of their bottles, that the pressurized atomizer, the thick glass, I love the build of it, the story. Like T-Rex is a running joke in our house. Like if my wife makes me upset, I'll say I'm going to wear T-Rex tonight. And then, you know, it's kind of like a joke. Like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'll say T-Rex. And it's this little inside joke that we have. And it's a lot of fun getting in Zoologist samples. Also, their samples are very accessible. On their website. You can't go to like a Neiman Marcus and find them, but you can order samples in bulk for a relatively low price and just have fun with trying out Zoologist. Maybe one will stand out and you'll really like it, but for me, it's like a lot of them are just fun to smell on paper, but I would never actually wear them. Next, I'm going to tie these two together, but Orto Parisi and Naso Amato. And I know a lot of people are really hardcore fans of these brands, hardcore, like really in it, like are totally going to disagree with me on this. I can't explain this. I just don't really like them that much. I haven't tried a lot of them, and the ones I like, I really like, as with any brand. Like my one from Naso Amato would be Black Afghano, and my one from Orto Parisi would be Koyam, and I really like those a lot. But a lot of the ones that I smell, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling the style of it. It's just that sweetness signature that he kind of uses that you find pretty prominent in Black Afghano. I find that in the others. I find it in like things like Pardon, and even in the dry down of like Duro, and then Taroni, like with that iron smell, I can't do that. Like some of them are just too far out, and it's a stylistic thing. Now I feel like it's like I said with the Amouage, if I gave them more of a chance and wore them more often, I probably would really warm up to these brands and they'd be one of my favorites. But at the same time, it's so hard to acquire samples. Like they aren't offering low-cost sampling on their website. You can't try them in person locally. So you have to spend so much money. And in a way, like I really like that they come in smaller sizes. Like I'd rather spend like closer to $100 and just get a 30 milliliter bottle. And I wish more niche brands did that, like offered the smaller sizes. I like that, but it also makes decants really hard to get a hold of and get at a reasonable price. Like extremely expensive to get like a 10 milliliter of something and try to warm up to the brand. So I kind of just like gave up on them. Like it's so much footwork to really explore those brands. And of what I've smelt, it's not like an instant love for me for sure. I do like that though. I do like the smaller bottle sizes. I like the Extrait. I'd much rather have a perfume where I only need 3 sprays and it lasts all day and get 30 milliliters than get 100 milliliters of something that I need 9 sprays of and it lasts 2 hours. So the performance is great. I love the creativity. I respect that, but I just am not really feeling Naso Amato or Orto Parisi fragrances. I would love to get accustomed to it, but it feels like there's a brick wall there. Next is Frederic Malle, and I like Frederic Malle. Like Musk Ravager and Carnal Flower are some of my favorite fragrances of all time, period. Like I love those. And I love the branding, putting the perfumer up first and giving him a budget to really create something creative. I love the minimalistic design of the bottles and the really good atomizer. I love Frederic Malle for the branding and all those reasons. And I like Promise a lot too, okay? But the issue I have is like going to a Neiman Marcus and smelling Frederic Malle. I'm just not really resonating with a whole lot of them. Like I like Portrait of a Lady and the big names, but then the other ones, I'm just kind of like, they're a bit off to me. It's just a stylistic thing. I probably will spend more time with Frederic Malle in the future because you can access samples and decants and smaller sizes of them, unlike other brands, but at the same time, just off what I've experienced, I'm not really feeling much of their releases. Next is MFK, and I say that because I don't know how to pronounce the name, and I do like them. The biggest up with those is my wife loves them. To me, the biggest down is just the sizes that they sell, just that feeling of getting a smaller bottle, especially when you're paying so much money. I just don't really like the vibe of that. And their fragrances, to me, they're really good. Don't get me wrong. They're really classy. But they feel also pretty safe from the ones I've tried, like really safe. The biggest up with those is it's my wife's favorite house. She loves MFK and Creed, and she seems to really like those. So when I wear those, I wear them more for my wife than for myself. Because at the end of the day, a lot of their stuff to me is just more linear, and I hate to say this word, but basic to some extent. And then they kind of, they short you on the size, and it doesn't make sense. Now I'm going to get into bottom tier, and just because they're my bottom tier doesn't mean there's anything objectively wrong with them. These are just brands that I feel like I just can't find much that I like from them. The first one will be Initio, and I do like some from them. I like Blessed Baraka, I think it's pronounced. And I like Oud for Greatness to some extent, but I think Haltane and Torino 22 are a lot better. But I think it's okay. I like Atomic Rose, but to me it's too feminine. So I do like some Initios, but there's a lot of Initios that I've tried that are just not it for me. Musk therapy, side effect. I don't even like Paragon that much, and I know a lot of people do. To me, they just feel, it feels like they have these really beautiful openings, and then they fall flat, and then they become like a body lotion. Like, that's the best way I could describe why I get a negative reaction to them. Is that I really love the opening, like of Narcotic Delight, with the cherry and everything just going bright and vibrant and really fresh and nice. And then 30 minutes later, I smell it and I'm like, this smells like a body lotion, like flat, just flat smelling to me. That being said, I really like Blessed Baraka a lot. It's probably my favorite Initio so far. And that one doesn't become flat. Like, it stays what it was in the opening a lot more. Next is Raja Parfums. I just can't find anything I like from Raja. Like, there's something just so off about them to me. And it really comes down to the blending, I think. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the ingredients. I don't think there's anything wrong with how well they're blended. I just think that at the end of the day, this is probably a stylistic thing, but none of them have been for me. And like, what I try not to read reviews online because I don't want it to influence what I say and become like a parrot that's just reciting a bunch of Fragrantica reviews to you guys. But so I'll try a Raja without even reading anything. And I'll just say, okay, like Sweetie Oud, I think it is, Sweetie Oud or whatever. I tried that recently and I was like, this smells like bread with a bit of a sweet crust on top. It smells really, okay, it smells good, but does it smell worth like $500 for a 50 mil? Absolutely not. Like, some about it was very basic to me. And then when I go online and read the reviews, everybody's saying how it's the greatest, most unique gourmand ever created. And I'm like, I don't get it at all. Like, I have zero connection to what other people are saying. Even Elysium, like, I smell it. Okay, the opening's good, but the dry down is kind of earthy and screechy. And I'm like, okay, this is what some people like. But then I go online and I'm like, ranked number 10 against all men's perfumes in the world. Like, I'm definitely the odd one out on that. But I just don't feel anything from them. And it's so stylistic. Like Burlington 1819, I like some cumin fragrance, but it just didn't work with the blend for me. Like, it made it too weird. Like, too, I don't know. It's just not my style. I don't want to say it's ugly or something because that's like an objective judgment. But my personal feeling towards them is something of that. Like, I feel like the fragrances smell tacky and just something I just can't get with at all. It's really weird. Next is Aaron Terrence Hughes fragrances. There's something off about those to me. A lot of people like them. I'm getting something that just smells off. One day I was at the gym and I realized, like, I smelt it in the air and I'm like, dude, somebody's wearing an Aaron Terrence Hughes fragrance, like, for sure, 100%. I'm getting the exact DNA. And then the next day, the same smell happened. Then the next day, the same smell happened. I said, this can't be. Like, what is it I'm smelling? And then I noticed there was a little fragrant thing in the corner of the room by the treadmill that was spitting out, like, literal fragrant stuff. And that's what I was smelling and linking to the Aaron Terrence Hughes. And I'm like, that's exactly, dude, this was an unconscious thing. Like, this actually happened. And this is exactly why I didn't like them. To me, there's something that reminds me of carpet cleaner in them. It reminds me of like a Glade plug-in. There's something that, to me, it smells very flat and wrong about them. They last a long time, but in the dry down, they start all smelling the same. And even further in the dry down, for me at least, I start smelling like fixatives and some kind of weird chemically funk. And that signature he uses with that kind of shaving foam manly smell, I just don't like it. Again, some people really love this house. I'm trying not to objectively put down the brand. Like, what do I know? I'm just a guy with like a camera that likes fragrances. I'm not Captain Perfumery here, but Aaron Terrence Hughes is just one of those houses. I really tried to like them, and I just can't. I just can't do it. Next is Penhaligon's. Just honestly, performance issues and super safe. Like, when I got into them, I think the branding got me. Like, oh, you know, the bottles look cool and the whole, oh, it's an ancient brand. It's been around a long time. But as I was exploring more from the house, I couldn't shake the feeling that these are like vintage soaps, basically, that last 30 minutes to an hour. And for some reason, they're selling them for like $300. Now, I like how Fetty, and I do like Juniper Sling. Juniper Sling's my favorite from the house, but it's got the worst performance ever. I do like some Penhaligons, but overall as a brand, they just stopped exciting me at some point, and I just forgot about them and honestly don't care about them anymore. Next is super bottom tier, which is only one brand that I just cannot resonate with at all. Okay, if you like this brand, then to each their own. I honestly understand how some people could like it because their perfumes do smell really good. But basic is what I get from them. I don't get excited by them at all. I get slightly feminine leaning shampoos that basically last 20 minutes, and I don't get it at all. I don't get the price at all. Byredo. Byredo is like the worst niche brand that I feel like I've tried for myself. Mojave Ghost, BLDF Freak or whatever, like trying those. It's like, dude, I can't resonate with anything because it all just smells like a woman shampoo. Like that's the thing that turns me off the most to a fragrance is if it smells like a body lotion or a body product that I find at like an Ulta or something. I get turned off because I'm like, dude, I'm not about to spend $300 to smell like I just took a shower or just put on body lotion. Like that's not my thing at all. Byredo is the bottom of the list, but if it's your number one, I'm glad you like it. I'm not here to try to rip that away from anyone. We each like our own things. It is what it is. Now, omissions are things that I've discovered, but I feel like I have to discover more to really have somewhat of an educated opinion. And for me, those would be Bond number 9. I do like the ones I've tried. I like Bleecker Street. I like Lafayette Street, Greenwich Village, New York Nights. But I feel like I've only tried like the really popular ones. I need to try more from the house to have more of a rounded opinion on them. Nichon A is the same way. Now, I really like a lot of the ones I found from Nichon A, but it's like when you've only discovered the most popular ones, it's hard to have really a perspective of what the house is doing. And finally, it's Memo. Same problem. Memo, I really don't like Italian leather or Irish leather. I really like African leather. Need to try the house more to really formulate an opinion. And also, just to throw this in as an add-on, my top tier designer house would be Dior. This is my number one favorite. I like them more than the Louis Vuitton fragrances. I just feel like I would be more empty if those were gone. Like Dior Homme Intense, Fahrenheit Parfum, like a lot of their releases, even Sauvage Eau de Parfum and a lot of their flankers are amazing to me. Absolutely love Dior. And it would be on the top tier, like for me, like with all those niche houses. It would be up there with Creed, Le Labo, all of that. All right, so that's my list. I had a good time making this. Hopefully you guys were entertained in the process. Feel free to comment with your list. Looking forward to seeing those, especially from the people that disagree with me the most, because it's so interesting to me how we all interpret these things and perceive them so differently. Like the psychological aspect of fragrance is just fascinating to me. It's awesome. Yeah. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe for future content. Peace out.